Yes, here we go. It's the T.N.F, the night we hand over the keys to use. It is the Judge and Bhoycie on a Thursday night. Hope everyone's doing good. It's the Thursday night forum. There'll be plenty of talking points. Even if nobody puts any in, I am sure we'll have more than enough to talk about to cover the next hour or so. Do all that good stuff and we'll get stuck in. All that good stuff means give us a wee like the new. Give us a wee share if you want in your socials, you know. If you want to give us a wee thumbs up or give us a wee thumbs down. Apparently it helps the algorithm, whatever the fuck that all means. But hopefully that'll help us as well. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member like so many of you have, it's $1.99 a month, but the content's always free. It just keeps the wheels on the road. Gary Brown's a member, as is Stephen Murdoch. Alex, looking smart there, boys. Thanks, pal. Cheers. Alex Forsyth said that. Danish, Jim C, Jim Dolan, all the gyms, any other gyms? Hundreds of gyms. You've got that wee cartoon thumbs up. But more importantly, how the devil are you, Mr. Cairney? Good to have you on, pal.
I'm doing very well, mate. A bit disenfranchised with football now and Celtic in general, but I'm going to try my best to stay positive. I think last Thursday we kind of...
we absolutely
we imploded, didn't it? Last week we kind of said, look, it's day one, match one, and the first hurdle, mate. Let's be quite frank about it. I've had a chance to speak with us since Saturday, was it? I was mad with it anyway, ended up fucking mad with it. But came in, my house was a... She came in and she found shit out of the couch, fucking... I bought this magical salt that was over the fucking flare or the living room or my house everywhere. Somebody broke into the house and wrecked the joint. But other than that, we'll get into it, I'm sure.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Do you know what? I did spare a thought for you, Judgy, because I thought, see, when that result happened, obviously at the time I wasn't thinking about you being right as much as I love you. But over the weekend, I did have a wee thought to myself and I went, he's going to be like, see what happens? Do you see what fucking happens when I start being positive? He's like, I knew I shouldn't have done that.
I just stick to my base level.
You must do that. The one time I give them a chance, they throw it back in my face. I was like, I thought, maybe I kind of get it now. Do you know what I mean? It's maybe better if the judge is just scathing in his approach for the get-go. And none of this, let's just get behind the team. Doesn't work for Marc. That's just, it doesn't work clearly for Celtic when the judge is in such spirited moods because they did not heed the sort of goodwill that you were giving them, Judge, at the weekend, and they put in a performance as dismal as many others have been, but another costly one as we drop points yet again. And the frustration levels are now, I think they're palpable. I think that the club's now looking at a situation where they don't know what to do. We know they don't know what to do anyway. They've never known what to do. If you've been keeping it, remotely paying attention, they've never known what to do in these situations. They don't know what to do when in a position of strength. They don't know what to do when they're chasing pack. They don't know what to do with transfers. They don't have a Scooby-Doo. Sadly, though, it's like it's rubbed off on a manager that cleared all before him the last time. And he just, he cleaned up, mate. It was no problem at all. This time around, he looks like he doesn't know what to do either. And unfortunately, we've found ourselves now 2 points behind after this time last week, trying to give that balance where we were saying, see, at the end of the day, despite all the negative factors going on around the club, and there is many between fans, board, etc., we've discussed it many a time, we've still managed to stay ahead of our rivals. Despite the brilliant form they've been in since Clement came in, we were still on merit ahead of our rivals. That blew up in our face literally 48 hours later, Judge. And that really fucking annoys me that when it got that nip and tuck, I really thought then the penny will drop for this team. Do you know what I mean? And particularly Brendan. I just thought to myself, no way. When's it going to kick into gear? Where even if, and this is the one thing, we're going to get to loads of other topics, by the way, and obviously keep them coming in on the hashtag T.N.F. But when's it going to come the onus on the players as well? When they're in these sort of situations where the game is on a knife edge, 1-0 didn't seem convincing. When are they going to stop playing within themselves? We've watched, I know there's been many segments been getting shared on social media and stuff of 50 seconds of passing around the back four, and somehow we still nearly lost position with Joe Hart scrambling about to, to try and collect the ball. We've had other moments where you've seen Kyogo sort of throwing his arms up in a tizzy. We've seen the clips getting shared, like, and snipped up with Palmer being a shocking footballer all of a sudden. And, whilst I don't think he's a wonderful footballer, I think it's counterproductive just to every mistake someone makes. If you're a Celtic fan, to be snipping that up and putting it together and sharing it, how that helps anyone, I'll never know. But amidst all that, there has to be some sort of responsibility. And this isn't me defending Brendan either, because the tactics clearly aren't fucking working and he's clearly not got the solution. So let's get that out of the way. But when's it the penny going to drop for what is meant to be a team, the majority of which are title winners? When's it going to come on to them to go, come on, let's get the sleeves rolled up. Let's start taking games by the scruff. Right now, if all they're doing is the manager's instructions, which is a very, very common narrative right now, that it's all, this is the manager's way, it's boring, it's dull, it's turgid, etc. See, if that's the case, then you've got 11 to 15 footballers playing every week that hang on the word of a manager and need coached their way through every single game and can't do anything off their own back, anything off the cuff, have no character, no personality whatsoever. And that, to me, is just as damning. Then you get to the point where you go, well, I highly doubt any manager, Brendan included's message is, knock it about the back four as much as you can until you give up possession, until you look stupid. That cannot be the message coming for the side. I just think they're all a wee bit shell-shocked right now that they find themselves in the position they are. But that shell-shock should have occurred a couple of weeks back, Mark, when we all foreseen what was going to come. Now there's the chasing pack, and suddenly your faith in them being able to turn a points gap, which is in a negative manner, around, is actually way less. I thought once it got tight, we'll put the foot down and we'll sort of get to grips with this. I'm now concerned that as we fall behind, the malaise is set in this team. I'm just talking about the football team here. I could talk about the club's issues, for hours, as you know, and what I think's right and wrong and all that nonsense. But as a team, a Celtic team right now, I think they look aside, devoid of ideas and devoid of taking responsibility. It's a huge concern going into what's meant to be a title race. But one, if we keep this up, we're going to find ourselves out of in the not too distant future.
Well, it stands to reason when you've got a passive captain and a group of players who don't know what the next move is. I mean, they've been micromanaged by Brendan Rodgers on the park. He's having to shout instructions to them like they're playing in the second division. I mean, I listened to Peter Grant. It's not advisable for anybody to listen to Peter Grant. They're talking about football at the highest level and walking away doing, and he says the higher level you go up in football, the less you'll see a manager shout at the touchline, because they don't need to micromanage players into position, players into passing the ball in the right direction. That'll be schooled to them Monday to Friday, and it'll be second nature to be in the right position. I saw Bernabei getting pointed at, like Neil Lennon was pointing his teams during COVID, where he's supposed to go in the park, where he's supposed to be. This is a guy in his early to mid-20s, playing football for the last 4 or 5 years. He doesn't know what position in the park to be in certain stages of the game. You see if that's not already installed in you after 2 seasons at Celtic under Ange Postecoglou and under Brendan Rodgers. You're never going to find that. In terms of waiting for it to click or waiting for the malaise or waiting for Celtic to go, oh God, that's a real title race now. If you're sitting in 1 week left of February waiting for it to click, Bhoycie, then newsflash, it's not going to click. You know what I mean? It's if a man January we didn't go abroad because he wanted more game time with the players, more home time, and just more stability around the club. He had all that, didn't work for him. He said players coming back for international duty, right back to Lennox time within days. He's had a lot of prep time with these players, and it still looks like it's a new formula to them. This is a team that's 2/3 of the season. They've played a Champions League campaign, a League Cup campaign they lost in the first round, and they've played 20-odd domestic league matches, right? So there should be nothing that's new, no formation that's new, no tactical switch that's unheard of. Everything that you're seeing on the park has been worked on Monday to Friday. There's no doubt in my mind that it's been worked on Monday to Friday. So it comes down to the fact that it's the message or how it's being delivered, or the players not being good enough. I think it's a mixture of both. Now, we mentioned there's a lot of talk about having 2 strikers on the park, and I've warned since day one about this 2 striker stuff that unfortunately you've only got 11 players. You're going to have to give up somewhere else, and normally it's midfield. Our problem isn't getting the ball in the box and then us not doing anything with it. Our problem is getting the ball in the box. We need more width. We need better width. We need better midfield play. The problem is not about what we're doing when we get there. We're just not getting there. We're getting no service off our wingers. There's no balls along the deck. There's no balls in danger areas. The only danger areas in a Celtic game just now is the Celtic penalty box. We're making bread and butter crosses look dangerous. You get corner kicks coming in and your heart's in your mouth. We've got a corner kick and you're just waiting for the ball to go for a shy. You're not even expecting that goal against Rangers for Bernardo was a very obscure thing in Celtic recent history to see a goal for corner. It's very, if you see one a season, you're surprised. And you think to yourself, why is that not being worked on? Why have we not got a penalty kick taker? Why is every free kick 20 yards out of the box? They're all looking at who's going to take it. Nobody's grabbing the ball. It's not this is Riley's here. This is good McGregor. But you're all guessing. If you watch Celtic as much as we do, and you're guessing who's taking corner kicks and free kicks in dangerous areas, then it's obvious to anybody that the plan is either fuzzy or it just doesn't work. Because I went to like Celtic Park last Saturday and I went for a couple of pints before it. I went, I'm going to go. There was people I was talking to, as way big Alec, and I says, look, it's day one. It's forget about stuff in the Green Brigade, forget about all the crap, forget about the board. We just need to get behind this team. First half was decent. Second half, it was back to last the week before's performances. Aberdeen and Kilmarnock. There's 2 games there, right? 2 games that have lost us a league in the title race. That's 4 points we flung away. A key position last summertime, before Greg Taylor got injured, before he was even injured last season, but this start of the season was a new left back. But Tawdry, Bernabe, gives the ball away, there was a goal. Saturday there, okay, there's more stuff in that goal than just Bernabe, but by God, his positioning, his weak effort, and his tracking back for that goal was diabolical. I'm sorry to say this, but Greg Taylor wouldn't have lost that goal. And had he lost that goal, there have been clips of him on YouTube and their Twitter as well. And I've seen the clips you're talking about, and no, it's not productive. It makes no sense to point out every single. But the thing is, Bhoycie, it's the same as these analytics guys. People with a laptop can see what's happening. With a base level of knowledge of football, can see what's happening. And then you're watching the manager with millions and millions and millions of pounds of software. Coaches, assistant managers, analytics teams, Y-Scout, every piece of information at his fingertips, and he can't get Bernabe to stay on the right part of the pitch. He can't get Carl McGregor to use the 10 yards of space. McGregor had 10 yards of space in Saturday there. That midfield, there was gaps out of that midfield. We weren't finding the passes. There was a shot that lasted maybe 45, 50 seconds, and it was Taylor to Welsh, boo, boo, boo. Where was in that full minute clip, Carl McGregor didn't appear in that clip once. I really came to the 25-yard line, took one pass, gave the ball to Ralston, and then it's went back away again. McGregor was neighbour in that picture. And how long can we sit here, slag the players, 100%, slag the off-field management, totally, I'm with you, get rid of him, sack him tomorrow, slag the board. But at what point does it become at least safe to say, what role was your captain playing in this? Because see, during COVID, if you ask me, the captain that season was Carl McGregor. Scott Brown was out the picture very early. And you saw what he did under tough situations. McGregor collapsed that season. The team had no motivation, nobody on the park motivating them, no drive, no enthusiasm, and just no general direction on the park. This season, when things have got shit, where is he? I've always said, when Celtic win 5-0, Carl McGregor's a 9 out of 10 player. When Celtic are drawing nothing each or getting beat 1-0, it's a very small sample size that you see Carl McGregor grab a team and win the match. Very, very small. You're talking 3-4 times in his career. You're thinking back to Ibrox when a couple of times, maybe Petrodri last season. And I'm not saying Celtic. I'm not so. I put it this way: it's that passive that you don't need somebody to start flinging bits of grass at each other and kick the ball off each other. If you need woken up as a Celtic player in the park, you shouldn't be on the park. If you need motivation, you shouldn't be on the park. But I tell you something, if you're a Celtic captain and you're hiding on amongst that haze of shit that's going on just now, then you're not living up to the badge either. I think the manager's get away with so much stuff. The windows he had was shocking, unforgivable what he was given, right? But the windows didn't tell him to play Kyogo in positions that he doesn't fit in. It didn't tell him to tell Welsh to pass the ball to Scales 14 times before it goes to the 40-yard line. It didn't tell Hart to hit the ball behind Ralston. It didn't tell fucking Maeda to face away for goal with every touch. You owe to your own brain to say it's the wrong manager, the right manager at the wrong time, a captain that's passive, a team not good enough, a board not what a back is, a fan base split in the middle, and with all the points I just made there, every point I've just made there, there's splits through the fan base, and it's got to the stage now for me where you'd have to be lying to yourself if you see this becoming a positive ending, Bhoycie. And I just want to kind of make it clear to anybody watching that there's still 1/3 of this season to go. There's still a Scottish Cup to win. It's within our powers, like it was during COVID in October, for us to make a change and grasp this title. We are no out it points wise, but we're out it psychologically, we're out it emotionally. We're all getting a bit apathetic. And just something, with a manager and a captain that I just know living up to the badge. One thing for me is you make a change. Simple as that. And if that means upsetting a few Celtic fans, paying £7 million compensation, fuck it, let's do it. We can afford it.
If you spend money they should have spent in the windows.
We spent £20 million on a training complex for the Birds team. You can fucking spend £7 million to make a decision just now to get this title back on track before you go to Ibrox 5 points behind, potentially 8. Yep. It's a reality, Bhoycie. It's a reality.
Well, the reality right now, I mean, there's a massive reality check that's been happening, and that's been going for a long time. Gary Brown comes in. He's the first question. Great to have you on the bus as always, Gary. A regular viewer, legend of a man, big Gary. He's asking if Rodgers has lost the dressing room. Now, for me, I've got to look at it in a slightly different. I don't know if he ever gained it, and I think I'll go back to a point I've made before. Now, this is going to sound like, because I wasn't sure of Postecoglou for the get-go. And there was times where I didn't think he was, the resurrection at times. And I still stand by that. But notwithstanding that, over the 2 years, did a fantastic job. But when it comes down to it, I think his legacy is such, or whatever imprint he had, we had a manager, and this is where you need to read the room quite carefully if you're going to be involved in the recruitment side of things. And I think this is a point that gets missed quite a lot, right? See, when Postecoglou was installed, we all commented at the time, what a change it is to see Celtic signing players on 4, 5, predominantly 5-year contracts for a manager that was on a rolling one. A manager that was clearly, if you'd done any slight bit of homework, and you have got the inside info, remember, the inside track on this guy, like we're told Mark Lawwell had. If you want to go down that road and believe it, then you'd have known Celtic was a stepping stone to the EPL for this guy. No problem with that, by the way. That's not an Ange Postecoglou problem. All right, that's sound. But let's get real here. If you're committing then guys on 5-year deals, and a lot of them, remember, we've also got to be consistent. We give the credit to being Ange signings. Guess who you find yourself when Postecoglou does exactly what we thought he would, and that, or what you should have known if you've got that, inside track. That would mean that you would know Postecoglou was going to go. But if they're all Ange signings, then you've just signed up his boys on 5-year deals, long-term contracts, and they are absolutely now, whoever it was that came in, even a manager who'd won 7 out of 7 trophies the last time, he now comes in and can't get you interested or get that tune out you or get even anything close to the same sort of reaction from you when you walk out onto the park. Now, that, I think, is a legacy problem people don't look at enough. again, this is going to sound like I'm absolving Rodgers. No, that was facts that were in front of him, that he had a lot of Ange, if you want to believe they were all Ange signings, that they were already in situ. I'm more of the case. I think a handful were Postecoglou signings, and that's really it. But what happened was he had such a hold in these players, which you've got to commend. But the problem with that is when you've got such a, influence, shall we say, on that group of players, the next guy coming in is like the stepdad trying to tell the kids what to do. And it's just not worked for that point of view, and I know that sounds quite dark about it, but it's a realistic comparison. It's when they kind of go, I'm not really that. I think Rodgers could have said we play fucking 3-3-4. We'll play the most attractive, exciting brand of football you've ever seen in your life, and they'd still be like, nah, it's quite the same as Ange Ball, though, is it? I think there's been a bit of that. That's just the way it's turned out. But these were hurdles that were in front of Rodgers when he got the job. Part of his wages and his salary is to overcome these. And sadly, he's not. Now, the other point you made, there was quite a few, and I'm the exact same as you, Mark. I start talking, I'm bringing up a million points at once. The other one you said was about changing, and with a third of a season left, why does it seem with Celtic like that would be too early to change? Or would it be catastrophic? I think the one that Celtic can resort to always is, there's always a reason Celtic can't be proactive in the decision-making. There always is. It goes back to, we can't sign players when we've only got Champions League playoff games to go, because what if we don't qualify for the Champions League? Now it's, well, we can't sack Rodgers because think of the compensation. And then if we still don't win the league, that's a 7 million down. It's always what the negative outcome would be that outweighs the, but what if? That's what kickstarts. That's what, reinvigorates the season. No one thinks like that. Do you know what I mean?
No.
And the way I see it is, when we look at Celtic right now, if Gary Brown is right, I'm guessing he's suggesting, has Rodgers lost the dressing room because he potentially thinks he might have. If that is the case, that he has lost or maybe never even gained the dressing room, then in my opinion, that means you have an onus on you as a board to make a big decision, a tough decision, a decision that changes the landscape, but one that dictates and can influence outcomes. That's their job. That is what they're there to do. Now, I've never been on this channel saying I advocate sacking Rodgers here or there. But what I would say that frustrates me is I don't even think it's up for consideration.
No.
And that's what drives me up the wall, Mark, because as far as I'm concerned, right now, big clubs, real big clubs, not whatever we kid on that we are now in the European landscape. We like to say we're a big club because of season ticket sales. That's only because they've managed to absolutely corner fan base for year upon year, generation upon generation, to the point now they cannot be stopped. They're on this roll that is incredible. Whilst actually, in terms of European standings, we're fucking nothing. We're specking it. Nobody cares. That's the reality. But see, real big clubs, they make big decisions in these junctures. They go, get him out right now. Let's make the change now. Because they would rather risk for the reward, Mark, than sit on what they've got in a what-if scenario. They must be looking at it right now thinking the likelihood of us winning the title is diminishing by the minute. When do you push the button? 6 games to go and a 6-point deficit? I think that would be more likely for them, where it's nigh on impossible for the next guy who comes in. He then gets axed in the summer as well, or he fucks off and he gets named back in, or if he stays, he doesn't have a buy-in for the next season because he didn't win as the league. It's foolish. I just would like Celtic to consider and have options and be sounding out potential replacements. I think right now they do none of that. They do absolutely none of that. They are sitting right now, for whatever reason, going, at the very worst case scenario, we'll have the same in the bank anyway. Look at us. We're doing all right, aren't we? And that's what fucks me off. They do not risk and reward, Mark. You know what I mean?
It's like the Lions don't want to go outside the garden. They're scared to open the gate. You know what I mean? See what's out there. And you listen to the E-Tims podcast, they actually quoted the Bayern Munich board and how they sacked that guy. Well, he's going to be in the summertime. But
It's the end of the season. There's a big difference with that because that wouldn't work for us either.
No, it wouldn't. But they said that, according to the quotes, they says that they invited the manager in and to ask why they only had these bad performances, 1 shot on target in 2 matches, and they said, yeah, explain this, and they said to them, look, but by playing easy passes, ball line the back, no taking chances, so we decided it was game over. That just strikes like Celtic. If you said Rodgers said that, I would just say, well, that sounds a reflection to my view and all, but we're not going to change, boys. I mean, you both know that because we're too scared to. I think if there was one lesson through COVID, well, apart from don't get jabbed because it was fake, it was probably don't wait till it's too late. Don't wait till you get a group of fans that are totally disenfranchised, a manager who's just making guesses halfway through matches, players who are just confused about the system. Everything that's happening just now is COVID. Everything is like, you see yourself. I remember folks saying, "Oh, it wouldn't have happened if the fans were in the stadium." Sometimes you get these seasons that are just an anomaly. I mean, the fans in the stadium couldn't prevent the Kilmarnock game, or Hearts beating us, or St Johnstone who get beat 4-0 off of Stenhousemuir, come to Celtic Park 6 days later and getting a result. We can only do so much. We can't suck the ball into the back end of it. And there was off the field issues going on at the time with the Green Brigade and that. But I just don't know if there's a section of Celtic fans that are in sync with the board boys say with some things like we don't want to spend because we'll go bust. Like that's not going to happen. We can't sack a manager because it'll cost us £7 million. We've got 2 players that can't even go on the bench that cost £7 million in the summertime there. Lager Bielka. Yep. So bring in somebody that can get a tune out of them. £7 million for call. £7 million is probably the home and away kit money. That's probably what it is for next season.
It's mad, eh?
And I tell you something, I'm waiting for my renewal pack to drop through the door. And I think the club's going to force the fans' hands. I think they're going to make it a record-breaking deadline. I think it's going to be the shortest deadline yet. Maybe 2 weeks or something, 3 weeks to renew. And they'll push it to us that it's causing a big waiting list. But the reality is they're trying to force your hand. They want to see where the line lies with the Celtic fans. Say the Celtic fans sitting, watching and waiting for the club to make decisions, then acting by a season ticket. They want you in. They want you in and they want you in early. They want you committed. There was 3 statements for this season that are going to be doing in infamy. We're all in. I'll see you here in May and I'll be emptied. That's the 3 things that's gone. That's the 3 statements that's got to come down in infamy. And every single one of them deserve laughed at. Because the only thing that's...
Have you just came up with that, you bastard?
Right,
tell me you've got that written down.
No, I swear, just... Because I thought about it before. I thought about it, we're all in, you know what I mean? And the only thing they were all in, boy, was my wallet and your wallet, you know what I mean? And I thought for day one, for the very first minute he said, I'll see you back here in May, I said, you've got to get that spectacularly right, or you got to look like an idiot. And
I liked it at the time. I don't want to jump to the other side. I did like it at the time, I'll be honest.
I think at the time it was an open goal, you know what I mean? And even I remember at the time when Carl McGregor came up to the number 7 lounge and he's saying, oh, Rangers have played nobody. Well, to be quite honest with you, they went to Spain and beat a team home and away in Europe, something we've never done in their history. So let's be honest here, boys. Say that. I mean, it's like these wee things can come back and bite you. You could say actually this season Celtic have played nobody. A Beale team that was an utter mess, and a team under Clermont that probably wasn't ready yet for a match of that magnitude in terms of the changeover. And I think sometimes you're better off. I remember Samaras years ago when we were a league title, and I remember the front page or the back page headlines, Samaras were far too good for these, something like that. I remember saying to my pal Steg, like, what a fucking statement that is. That's going to come back and bite him in the head. Bite him in the arse, sorry.
There's 2 sides to that though, no?
No,
Jack saying it?
I think confidence is a thing that's within you, boys. You don't need to speak it. See, I look at a player like Cameron Carter-Vickers. He's self-assured. That guy very, very rarely makes a mistake. He's self-assured. Does he come across arrogant? I wouldn't say so. he come into the press and start talking shit that would get pinned up in the dressing room? I don't think so. His confidence is shown in his ability to do the job that he's asked to do, and the effort that he demands on himself. That's confidence. We don't need cocky wee snippets. We don't need sunglasses in the sun with thumbs up. We don't need all that. I do think it's funny for an hour or two, but I think you're setting yourself up, Bhoycie, and I think we see when you're a public figure like a Celtic captain, player, manager, I think you got to choose your words wisely, and I think the arrogance that stems from the stands. I think there's an arrogance. Even an arrogance just now, even though we've got a worse team than Rangers, a manager who's not performing, and we're second in the league, that still say we are far too good for them. And I think there's players in the dressing room that think, oh well, get a few weeks and they'll go behind. They'll slip up somewhere. What's funny that they've played 20 odd games under this manager and they've not won only 2 of them. They failed to win 2 matches under this guy. A defeat after us and a draw against I think it was Aberdeen at Bustalgia. It's the only games the guys no won. Now, yep. If we'd signed that, we'd be sitting on a podcast going, we've got to do this, mob. They don't know what you're doing, we don't know what you're up. But you get a section of your fan base, and I think probably a section of the players, it's becoming reality now right enough, that are thinking, fuck it. They'll know. They'll come back for the buy and they'll lose that 19-point lead. And they think the same just now, that the Huns will just lose it, Bhoycie. The reality is, they're probably not going to.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I mean, I think first and foremost, I think like at times as well, I mean, what do we want here? To become a completely robotic affair where nobody's got any sort of personality, any sort. Do you know what I mean? Like, we could. It could get though to the stage where it's like, well, what can we say that couldn't come back and bite you? I think there's anything can come back and haunt you, be spun, cut, and twisted, and then reworked. And then turned into, see, did you said that? I think, the Postecoglou thing, you'll be surprised, or you guys call titles very early. Say Rangers went on, won the league that year by 15 points. They went, aye, we did, because we knew you were shite. Like, that would have turned straight away like that. So I think sometimes they need to say something that gives them that, and maybe it's a bit for them as well. I think sometimes it can just trigger you. I remember, for example, and I know a lot of folk want to talk about Jose Mourinho these days. I mean, that is dreamland stuff for me as well, trust me. But when he came in at Chelsea, he just goes, I'm not from the bottle. I believe in the special one. Going up against Wenger, I think they'd just done Invincible season or something like that. And Ferguson at Man United. And he says it, now could that come back and bit him? Of course it could. But sometimes you need to do something that, I think particularly for yourself at times, but also that captures the imagination of the fans, that tries to get them on side. There's ways of doing it. I always look back as well to the first time he came. You imagine if he'd fucked that first season with 10,000 fans in the stands. Oh, we've done that, and he's swinging a scarf about, and it turns out he was shite. Look how much that would have came back and bit. But because the season was so fantastic, no one really looks at the other sort of side of that, so how it would come. But anyway, that's just my take on it. But I get what you're saying. Alex says, do you think us fans might be partially to blame for the shit show on the pitch? Are we making it worse? Alex, I think right now we're in a really confused sort of demographic of Celtic fans right now, and I think there's very much 2 sides to it. My take on it is there's fans of vintage, like myself and the Judge, who've seen Celtic for a good few years a good couple of years really, but aggressively get to where they wanted to be. And we've seen things we thought were being conditioned to, or maybe our parents have been conditioned to thinking, well, their parents sort of stories like, but for example, my dad would have been 4 years old when we got to Lisbon and won the European Cup. But then, if you actually think about it, I think when we beat Celta Vigo, it was something like 21 years since we've been in Europe after Christmas. Forgive me if my maths is a wee bit out. Something like that, 21 to 25 years, something like that. So think of those 2 generations in that time, conditioned to think otherwise. And I think right now we've got fans like us who've seen, in my opinion, the real Celtic. A Celtic that, regardless of whether we were spending the same as the rest, was someone that was competing and being the best version of themselves. And that was an incredible time where our reputation, particularly at home, was one that no team wanted to play, didn't matter who you were. And to then see now a set of fans that for the last pretty much 2 decades, particularly the last sort of decade itself, now have a Celtic, a version of Celtic that they're conditioned to think can't compete, won't compete. That's the two things that stare them in the face now. And some of them believe it's because they can't. We believe that they won't. Mm-hmm. That's where I think the fans are they to blame for it. I think the board have been let off with far too much. I think a lot of it as well in terms of push is Rangers' demise. I think we've got to be honest on that. We sat on our laurels. We invited them back into the race. I think there's no two ways about that. Celtic could have kicked on at any time whilst Rangers were even scampering through the lower leagues. We chose not to. We chose never to push the boat out. We downsized then. We then looked a bit more aggressive the second they were back in the league. And then once we realised we're making easy work of them, we started downsizing again. And we started taking things for granted again when we got Lennon appointed in the showers and stuff. Because we thought, well, that miles ahead, we'll just lay off the gas. That really, really frustrates me. And to be honest with you, I just feel the fans can't take blame in the sense of what's happening at boardroom level and what's happening in the park. The board are the guys in situ who make decisions, and they have to be big enough, brave enough, when they talk about having a worldwide club and being in charge of it, to expect a hell of a variety of opinions on that then, and expect them to be loud, and expect them to be strong, and expect them to disagree with you. No matter what you do, sign Messi, a bit expensive for me. That's the reality if you're in the Celtic board. So I don't feel sorry for them at all. I think they make decisions that are self-serving, none of them on the basis of the fans. But I do get that us fans, not being partially to blame, but I think there's a divide in it right now. And I honestly think it's a generational thing. 20 years of conditioning, the rest of the other 30, 40 years of knowing what Celtic can be and can't be. The rest of them think of Celtic what can't be and could never be. And I think we're in that sort of space, Judge.
Well, boys, there's not been a Celtic match since 2015 that hasn't been sold out. There's not been a Celtic match, right? You're talking the cup games aside, right? Okay, so let's be honest here. The Celtic fans play their part. There's about fucking 20, 30 different taps out throughout a season. Tracksuits, shorts, you name it, right? We're all buying all that stuff. We're playing our part. We're going to the stadium. But look, going to every match thinking, let's give this team a hard time here. When you're seeing lethargic, side-to-side passes of the ball, wingers that can't beat a man, then it eats into the stadium and the atmosphere changes. I actually think the atmosphere changed. For mid-December, a couple of bad games, then we beat Rangers, and there was a wee bit of an uplift in the club. I think Palmer's second penalty miss against Ross County sucked the life out of Celtic fans. I think that stadium that day, the life just got sucked out it, and it's no come back in since. I think he changed the Celtic fans' general vibe that was positive up until that moment. But just a wee feeling I had. And I don't think the Celtic fans have played a part in that. No, I think the Celtic fans have played their part. As I say, every match is a month sold out in advance. You know what I mean? We turn up, we sing songs, or we don't, but we support the team. You know what I mean? The players are giving us nothing to shout about. A striker that's beyond half a player on what he was. Midfield, nowhere. A guy should have been sold, I think, to Atletico Madrid. A defence, for fuck me, it's not even worth a defence. And it's uninspiring. And it's also many times you can go there and start happy clapping and just cheering every throw in and every corner you get. Eventually, it drains on you, Bhoycie, and the freezing cold. And that's the reality of being a Celtic fan or a Scottish football fan is you're out 3/4 of the time in the freezing cold, very early in the morning, spending a fortune, sitting there waiting to be entertained, paying EPL prices to watch League One standard football. We don't ask for much. We want to see passion and desire for our players. Not very often we get it nowadays, Bhoycie. And let's get one thing straight here before we start looking at squad depth. We're playing against a league that not one team apart from the Rangers has ever signed a player for £1 million. We're playing against teams that are getting cherry picked for League 3 in England, the Conference League, League 2 if they're lucky, League 2. If they're lucky at that, they'll get Raith Rovers' next project and this next prospect. We're playing against very, very, very low standards, players that are at the very end of their career of low-level English football or at the beginning of their career for higher Championship, League 1 and Scottish football level. That's what we're up against. And we're buying players that it might cost £3 million, but see, relatively, it's probably 400% more than the highest earning player in any given day is getting. And we're still making this league look hard. I said before, we're making teams like Kilmarnock look like Champions League teams. We played that. If we're, don't get me wrong, I think the last 5 minutes last Saturday was a joke. What a captain was up to that day, I don't fucking know. We should have played that game out. But see, if you're sitting at Celtic Park playing out a 1-0 against Ross County, that was a deflected goal. Playing out a 1-0 against Kilmarnock at home. Beating a Bucky Thistle team who had their work the next day 5-0, which still annoys me. That should have been the highest goal scoring that we've seen as Celtic fans that day. This isn't the Celtic v Whitehill Welfare in the 90s. This is a Champions League level Celtic against a team playing that low. I don't even know what division they're in. Guys that are at their work, who if they're lucky, can train twice a week if the weather lets them. And that team should have scored that day. I know sometimes people don't like my opinions because I just fucking say it like it is, but you got to stop thinking that the pish running in the back of your neck is rain, Bhoycie. It's no fucking rain, it's pish. We're paying £80 for a t-shirt, for a shirt every season. They're bringing out every month, they're bringing out new tracksuits every month, right? Look at Champions League tickets. Probably only 2 teams in the world that sell Champions League tickets 3 games in advance. Everybody else just sells them because we want the money in first. Must you want here? Keep the change. Every home match at Celtic Park, that superstore's snaked with queues, folk just spending money. We're going to a stadium and we're watching guys on £800 a week beating us, playing us off the park, tactically better than us, fitter than us. A manager who takes half an hour to suss out a £3 million a season elite manager. A board of directors sitting up the boardroom, up in the posh seats. Anybody says it and they part them out. Mark Lobell hiding behind glass partitions at a home match. The only guy that I know of in such a lofty position that has never done one interview with Celtic. Never been one photograph of that guy published. The only photographs you see is one took off the guy's Twitter page for years ago. That's the only photograph you see that guy.
Because of the piss dripping down his neck, mate.
What's that?
It's because of the piss dripping down his neck.
That's why he's piss dripping down his neck. Do something by the way. This is the thing. This is the thing that I've said for months now, a long time. See if we did get 2 or 3 results, this conversation would be mute. It would be, the board's all right. We'll talk about this in the summertime. Rodgers is fine. I mean, has there been a point in this season, at any point, including the 2 derby matches, which I think we were lucky to win? Let's be honest. Has there been a point in this season that you thought to yourself, right, we're going in the right direction? Or was it just because Beale was that bad at Rangers, we looked half decent? Because Neil Lennon's Celtic team up against Gerrard's COVID team, did they drop many points? Bhoycie, that Rangers team that season. We'd be about 20 points behind them just now if we were in the league in comparison just now. They probably dropped about 7 points the full season, that Rangers team, right? Or 6 points or whatever. We'd be about 20 points behind them. Lennon was sacked on cue for this sort of shit. Rodgers is getting away with it because of how bad Beale did. And actually, Chris Sutton said, Chris Sutton said the other day that Beale's record in the same amount of matches is better than Rodgers. And on top of that, I heard that if Celtic, and since Clermont came in, Celtic are third in the league. We are
17 games, I believe it is, that we're behind Hearts.
We're 35 grand a week. 35 grand a week captain. A 65 grand a week manager. England #1 international goalkeeper for a few years ago. the most expensive left back in our history can't defend Bernabeu. It's £7 million of players that can't even get in a match day squad. And sometimes it's crystal clear. If you want to look at it, it's crystal clear. And it's crystal clear that water in the back of your neck is pish, Bhoycie. It is pish. It isn't rain.
Well, I like that phrase. I think a lot of people have been taken by that one, Mark. We're going to move on to the comments. We'll do it quite quick fire for the last 10 minutes. I think there's some really good ones coming in. But before that, just a quick sort of interesting takeaway from today. Obviously, Joe Hart announcing his retirement. The reason I bring it up, firstly, obviously, cheers, Joe. I think whatever he did when he came in, I think he was a massive factor, particularly off the field. I thought in terms of ability-wise as a goalkeeper, I think he more than made up for in Angie's first season as being a guy who really did help guide a team of newbies together. I think as much as Andrew's obviously fantastic at generating a self-belief in players, I think when it comes to standards and, you know, all that sort of carry on, I think there was an interview, I always remember Callum McGregor, and he said, you know, he's the last in sweeping up the away changing room and things like this, you know, like, and he goes, he's not doing it for show, it's just who he is. And I always thought stuff like that has just obviously been embedded in him as a player. And I think he was vital in that first season to help. Did I think we could have upgraded during his tenure at Celtic or his time at Celtic? Probably. Does that mean he never gave anything but his all? Absolutely not. And actually, ironically, happen to think the last few months of Joe Hart have been the best I've seen him in a Celtic jersey. That's my honest takeaway.
Me too.
But the key takeaway from it all is goalkeepers will come and go, players will come and go, managers will come and go at Celtic. I'm always about then, you know, long live the king and all that stuff, you know. So it's like, what I can't mind that saying. The king is dead, long live the king. That's what it is.
Right.
And remember the date, 22nd February. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That's when Celtic have announced.
Yeah.
Celtic have announced they know. They know a replacement goalkeeper is required. A first choice goalkeeper is required from February the 22nd.
He said that. He said that he went like, I'm telling you just now so that it's clear that my decision is to give you plenty of time to replace me.
I think he's holding them at account.
I tell you something just now. I say this to you in the chat. Celtic's first match, I think it might be a qualifier for Champions League. Whatever it is, right? The first match, Scott Bain starts and goals for Celtic. There you are. We've not bought a goalie yet. There's a prediction for you. And then on top of that, Greg Taylor's a left back.
I definitely think that. Right, Jade Moffat comes in, she's asking a few times, so I'm going to bring it in because I know you've been talking about this online, Judge. You know far more about it clearly than I do about when the release dates are. I generally don't have a Scooby. But Jade's asking, can I ask a silly question, Bhoycie? Do they need to release the financials tomorrow or can they withhold it? Obviously, I think the intrigue from Jade will be, ladies and gentlemen, that because there is a reported £92 million going to be announced as sitting there, that would be a further 20 million on the 70 that we keep referring to. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case or not. I think it's speculation at this moment in time. And, you know, if I thought it was true, I would be definitely like shouting it from the rooftops. I wonder if the delay is because it is going to be positive outcomes. I think it's a bit ambitious to sort of speculate as to what the amount is. By the way, if it comes back as 92, then fair play. Some guess or someone's told you that. That's ITK. But for me, there's a reason with these delays. I think it's delayed already, Judge, but you seem to know more than I do about it, so I'll let you answer that.
No, I think the latest we've released it is February the 10th, and that tells you that they're withholding it for a reason. They're scared to publish them. They know the backlash. And I also think that hastily arranged video they posted yesterday will be a reason why we're not spending money. We've invested £20 million or whatever it's going to be into this development, which I don't think is needed just now, to be honest with you. But it's the financials are due a long time ago, and they can't hold it back. Celtic employ corporate governance. You know, they're in the stock exchange. They've got to live by certain standards and rules. They don't live by their own rules because you're supposed to change your CEO every 5 years or so, and your board of directors every few years. So that's corporate governance regulations, or at least advised regulations. Celtic don't adhere to any of them. So you never know with this mob. It'll probably come out on the website. It won't go on Twitter, put it that way.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think when it's a real good news Celtic story and everything's going well on the park, they can't wait to get it out. then when they know it's going to be absolute ire that they're faced with, I think there is reasons why this will be tried to be kept under the radar, which fucks me off as well, because it almost insults your intelligence that
It does. So obvious.
you can release things on websites and it's just the exact same. Just post it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's going to go and spread like it's a much wildfire. The fact you're even trying to do it sleek it, or potentially, obviously this is speculative right now, but if they do it that sleek it way, like, oh, we'll just release it on the website, that actually makes you look like bigger fannies. So I would rather they just put it out on everything as you would normally if things were going well, and own your shit, essentially. Own it. This is where you've took us to, an extremely rich position that you clearly have your own agenda for, that you're not willing to disclose to any fans, despite being a public listed company and all that stuff. They don't want to tell you. They don't hold annual general meetings to keep you in the loop. They don't want to do that. But anyway, we will move on because it's just Jade, we'll need to start another show on it. But yes, we expect those results to be soon. I take it is what you're saying to that, Judge, yeah?
Oh, definitely.
Right, okay. Next up, we've got Joe Henry. He says, do our players actually understand what's going on here? Do they understand the culture, the expectation, the requirement? Joe, very quickly, I think players play for themselves a lot of the time these days. I think that you see it across modern football. I think particularly if you go to the MLS, apparently they even admit that, that Inter Miami football club that's been created by Beckham and that, they literally go to support a player. Like, that's how they've created that fan base. They support the individual. Individual brands, etc., are massive. Players join Celtic for what it does for them, not what it does for Celtic. That's right. And you'll get ones in between that. Please don't think I'm saying every one of them, but you'll get ones that will slip through the net. You'll get ones that will go, no, I fucking love it here. Do you know what I mean? This is I'm into this, and they might still inevitably move, but that doesn't mean they've not been bitten by the club at the same time in the right way. I think that certainly happens. But in terms of getting it, the expectation, the requirement, I think you're looking at 1 in 5, 1 in 6 signings these days. I think before you used to look at 100% strike rate, even if it was guys that weren't getting a game. I still think once they were involved at Celtic, they were still consumed by it. They still absolutely fell for the whole thing. Nowadays, I think you could even include several first-team players that their brand comes first. Their eyes already on, well, if Celtic qualify for the Champions League and I do well in that, where does that take me? Not where does it take Celtic. I just think that's the reality of how the modern footballer thinks. So do they get the culture, the expectation, the requirement? They'll be acutely aware of it. Does it define them when they're wearing a Celtic jersey? Nowhere near the same as it used to, Joe.
I think it's been summed up by 2 players this season. David Turnbull, in the last match before he went to where he's away to Cardiff, he came on the park, didn't want to be there, didn't want to warm up. And then the second man, I think, is Matt O'Reilly. I think he's asked to go. He's been told he's not going anywhere. And I think his performances have dipped. And I think he's keeping himself fit, he's keeping himself within himself. And that's just my opinion. And I think that summed up. I don't think you're right there. Years ago, we signed players and they just love Celtic. You could see it in them. I think just now, we've actually sold ourselves a stepping stone by having this £3 million kind of ceiling on players. We've made ourselves a stepping stone. We've sold ourselves to Dembele and says, come with us for 2 years and then you can go. We've turned ourselves into a club whose best case scenario.
Stepping Stone FC.
Before it was best case scenario, you fall in love and want to stay. Now it's best case scenario, you come and we sell you for 20 million. And again, that's a club, unfortunately.
Stepping Stone FC, I coined the term in the wee fellas show. I'm sure it's been stolen a few times since then. I don't hold grudges, Mark. I'm over all that, mate. Honestly. Phil McGinley comes in. The big man himself. Hashtag T.N.F, Bhoycie and Judge. Thanks for giving us both a shout out there, Phil. I like that. Matt O'Reilly's pretty much fell off a cliff. I think he means Matt O'Reilly's form's pretty much fell off a cliff at the worst time. Spelling error in Phil's comment. I didn't think I'd ever see that. Fucking hell. Is he just victim of the whole team's drop off, or has the rejected Atletico Madrid gotten downing tools? I've got to be honest, I don't think he's down tools whatsoever. I actually happen to categorise Matt O'Reilly as one of the ones who gets it. I think it's the opposite of him. I think when he played the number 6 role in Callum's absence, At times I thought, fucking hell. Do you know what? It's not his position, but look at the effort he's putting in. I'm not saying he was 10 out of 10 every week, by the way, far from it. But see when he played like that, I thought, that's someone who's playing for the team. The vibe I get, is that Celtic's definitely a club that suits him, and he's really happy to be there. It has coincided with a drop-off in form, but so Celtic's as a whole. Let's be real here. I think that Celtic's forms fell off a cliff, and maybe it's no coincidence that when we've picked up results, it's because Matt O'Reilly's been playing well. Nobody's expected on their own to be sort of assisting or scoring goals week in, week out, and that kind of almost dictating the outcome of a match. O'Reilly scored so many winners this season. He's had such an influence in positive results, not necessarily always performances by the team. I definitely don't think Atletico Madrid comes into Matt O'Reilly's thinking when it comes to winning this league title. I think he's absolutely desperate to win the league as much as anyone. Do I think his form was falling off a cliff? I cannot get away from that. I'm reluctant to say it's Atletico Madrid's based, though, to be honest with you. You think it is?
Well, you look at his career so far. He knocked back Fulham to go and play low level.
No, he was at Fulham. He left Fulham too.
Aye, but he left him to go to, was it Wimbledon or
something? MK Dons he went to for Fulham.
Because he was Brand O'Reilly. He had a certain mindset where my career path is the way I make it, you know what I mean? I'm fully focused on being the best player I can be. Club, the crest, probably doesn't actually matter as such. I think he's fell into Celtic. I think came to Celtic. I think he's picked up a philosophy and how to play football. I think he's picked up an ethos that the fans and the club give you, that winning is everything. You know what I mean? Do I think that the £25 million, probably 100 grand a week denial to him to play in La Liga with the best players on the planet, I think that's turned his head. I think definitely it's turned his head. And I think Rodgers told us all. He was asked a question. He says, but what happens if a second offer comes in for O'Reilly and one for a Blether? And he said, I'm going to quote him, they've been told they're going nowhere. That's what he said. They've been told they're going nowhere. So do you tell somebody who's not want to go anywhere, they're not going anywhere? You tell somebody that they're not going anywhere, it's because they've asked to go. And I always say that Celtic lose this title, Bhoycie, I don't think his level of team goes down. He's in a pool of players that he'll be in a top drawer of a desk of certain clubs in certain countries. They'll not check if Celtic beat Rangers to win the league this year. They'll look at his performances, look at his key stats, his index, you name it. They'll not check that way. Is he keeping himself? Is he keeping his body as strong as possible? Is he keeping himself away from harm's way in an area of the park that you can get injured pretty easily? I think so. Is he got an agent like any other player that tells him one injury and you're losing a £10 million contract?
I struggle with that concept.
I'll tell you something now. There isn't a Celtic player that's ever played for Celtic. Not one Celtic player that's ever played for Celtic in their history that's put the club before themselves. Not one. You tell a guy, okay, you play for nothing, go back and tell your wife that. They say no. Right? So there's players that love Celtic. There's players that love Celtic, that are born Celtic fans, Tommy Burns, etc., that will do everything for the club, right? But the fact of the matter is that they've got families, they've got ambitions and all the rest of it. And when that starts
they've always had that as well, though. They've always had families and ambitions as well.
No, but that's what I'm saying. For day one, we can only keep players because we give them £10 a week, but they're getting £10.50 somewhere else. It wasn't like 10 grand a week to 120 grand a week like it is now. I've always said Henrik Larsson, he was the last player we'll ever keep for that amount of time at that level, because he was on 25 to 50 grand a week. His probably top offer was maybe 70 grand. So he just knew he'd go on, if he wanted to, at least, I'm talking about at least £250,000 in that Saudi. At least £250,000 a week. If you're getting 200 grand a week for Jota, you're getting more than that for Henrik Larsson. And that starts triggering. Okay, I love Celtic, I love the badge, I love the fans, I love people singing my name, that triggers a different side of you, Bhoycie. Yeah. And that's since day one, there's never been a guy that said, no, Celtic is everything to me. I'll play for nothing. And Celtic are a football team, right? And there's Tommy Burns, etc. And there's a very few very few cases where the fans are in the park, because for the age of maybe 8 or 9, they spend every Saturday and Sunday playing football. They're not on the stands day in, week in, week out, because they're playing football. They're on the pathway to becoming a football player. It's very rarely you see that, boys. You know what I mean? And they're not that us that think about Celtic at 2 in the morning when they go to the toilet. You know, that's just no there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just think that there's a far removal from thinking about it at 2 a.m. and then thinking that I'm just, because I didn't get a move, which can't now happen till the end of the season anyway.
It happens to a lot of players. We can't be the exception to every rule. There's a lot of players who don't get the move.
But that's not my point. I'm trying to make. Matt O'Reilly's not that, like, there's a big difference between, like I was saying earlier, I think there are players that are playing for their own brand, and to an extent Matt O'Reilly absolutely is. I'm not naive enough to think he's not. But do I think he's not? He's playing within himself because he didn't get a move that he now can do fuck all about for 4 months, with, bear in mind, place in the Denmark squad. He's got to impress for that. He's not a certainty to get in that squad. Apparently his debut for them, they were utter murder when he played in midfield. I think they got beat. And I don't think it did his sort of endearment to their supporters any good at all. I think, for me, Matt O'Reilly's form mirrors Celtic's, sadly, and probably has throughout the season looking back. I think a lot of the good points we've had this season have been Matt O'Reilly moments. I think Matt O'Reilly being out of form right now, or at his lowest sort of spell of form, has been Celtic's had theirs. I'm very, very, very reluctant to put that down to Atletico Madrid.
I think he's probably only what, 15 grand if he gets Celtic, 15 grand, maybe 20 grand.
They can't change it now though. So why would you? What can he? What is it? What's the end game?
This is the thing. People sometimes choose to listen. Rodgers literally said it. Please Google it after the show. They've been told they're going nowhere. He said they've been told. So
they signed the contract.
80 grand a week. You get offered. Nah, I'll stick to 15 grand. You're all right, mate. I'll get my heart and soul for you who told me I'm going nowhere. Look at Dembele. Look at Boyata. That's a reality, boys. These guys on the born.
Again, I see a different character. I see a different guy for that.
What's that?
I see a different character from Dembele and Boyata.
It's all opinions, but this guy wasn't born a Celtic fan, boys. He probably supports Leeds or something. You know what I mean? He's got here for what, 20 months? He's no dying about Celtic. I mean, he's a
but he's got to keep his own career on track though, because that offer might not come back in the summer.
Well, that's true. And then
I just can't see that.
Strange. I think there's more players, if you ask them who is affected, that's not affected when they get a big move breakdown, because they want to go. Because as you said, you strike while the iron's hot. He wanted to go there. On purpose, he might not be down in tools, but I think it's in his head. I'm not saying that was the case, but I do think so. I do think that him and his agent will be protecting his body. I think he will.
I struggle with it. I struggle with the idea of it. But that's
the guys and all. They're no like movie stars, and these guys are just men. They've got a career, they've got a family to think about, and all the rest of it. And if it's the same as the stuff with Ange, put the money in front of you, it becomes tempting. He's been told
the money isn't there in front of them now, though.
But I'm saying, but it must affect you, Bhoycie.
It was there, yeah. But I just think then in between, to ensure that offer then is on the table, and not just theirs, but potentially options. Who's to say playing for Simeone's his number one option? Once you get a wee glimpse that 70 grand might be your market value, or a club like Atletico Madrid might be a table you can dine at soon. Okay, you didn't get the move, you're fucked off, or if you did want it, you might then be going, well, hold on now. How many offers am I going to get in the summer if I just down tools? What's going to happen if I don't get in that Denmark squad? That'll plummet his value. I struggle to see, from what I've seen of Matt O'Reilly so far in his career at Celtic, that he's just suddenly changed and been swallowed by one move, one offer, one contract rejection, or one transfer rejection from Celtic. That doesn't sit well with me. But
I think it's above his expectations, though. I don't think he expected to be getting offers like that, Bhoycie. I said, you're talking probably, it's not a Man City or Real Madrid here. You're talking maybe the next level of club here in terms of ambitions. You're talking teams that probably say, you've got a 1 in 10 chance to win this Champions League. at the start of the season. So it's like maybe very top level of second tier clubs in Europe just now, probably the highest of the level 2 clubs.
Yeah.
And I don't think when he came to Celtic or when he was training in the parks, as he says, that he thought this offer comes. Do I think the guy is purposely no giving his all? No. But I do think the human side takes over a bit, and you do start to protect yourself.
That would be, in my opinion, very naive. Because see, if you are one of these,
it's naive to think that.
That's a fair point. But just very quickly, what I was saying there was, if you're wanting to talk about the second tier elite clubs, and then your form falls off the first sign of adversity, guess what? You don't have the makeup to actually be at this level of club. They'll turn away onto someone else. As you rightfully point out, there's so many players. He's one in a pool of players of this ability. And if they think because you get one sign that Sun's not went your way, they don't need the guy for Celtic anymore. Sorry?
He'll think he's missed his chance as well. I think he will think I missed my chance there. Because I don't think, unless he's been told on the quiet, we're going to speak in summertime, which is fine. Fair dues. But I think sometimes in football, there's the doors open only ajar for you sometimes. Only sometimes that door opens ajar for you and you go to snatch it. Personally, I'm delighted this side because I think he's still got the ability to turn your season run. Him and Hattati could make us click again. In my opinion, maybe Carter Vickers. That could be our only hope, right? So I'm delighted this side. But I'm just saying, I think we'd be naive and not to think that players don't think like that. I want the Celtic to keep the best players, but I don't think for a minute he's going to.
But that wasn't how the question was framed, though. The question was, has his form fell off a cliff because of the Atletico thing? Do I think his head was turned by it? I absolutely do. Do I think his form's fell off a cliff because of it? No. I mean, there's a different space from that. And the question was framed as... do you know what I mean? Like,
that's great. It's all opinions. That's
of course it is, mate. I think there's no
thing mean you can give us opinions because you don't know the guy. So the other things, you can be totally right. I can be totally wrong.
Exactly. He's coming over for a beer
because of the money. But I think sometimes. I remember listening to. I was at a night with Frank McAvenny, and he was talking about Lou McCarry. He says he hates him. Says he's a horrible, vile man. That's why he described him. And he said that he was getting offered $5,000 a week to go to somewhere in England. And the deal was all ready to go, and that McCarry just went like at the last minute. Nah, I don't want you to go. And he said it was for spite. It was for spite. I'm pretty sure it's McCarry. And he said he fucking went like that straight away. Tools down. Went like that. This is it. And I do. Just Frank McAvenny's a Celtic fan through and through. Probably bleeds Celtic, but the human side kicks in. The mentality kicks in, and I don't think Matt Riley's. I don't think Matt Riley's playing within himself as such, right? I did say that. I genuinely do think that is on his head. And it'd be a massive coincidence for that bid to be rejected and his form to go off the cliff at the same time. It could well be a coincidence. We'll give the benefit of the doubt a wee bit. But when the manager's saying that they've been told they're going nowhere, it just reminds me of Dembele, it reminds me of Boyata. And players, they react differently. These guys are from different countries that probably didn't even know Celtic played in Glasgow until they got here. It's not like me and you boys have grown up Celtic fans. Even a Riley, probably even some of the Scottish boys that have come in.
I totally agree with all that, though. It's just what he's doing in the 90 minutes in the park. I just can't see that.
Look at Turnbull. When Turnbull was definitely making up your arse himself because he was trying to get a move pushed through.
Oh, he was in a desperate situation. O'Reilly's on the rise here. He's found out there's big clubs interested. I just can't envisage that he's playing to protect his body and stuff like that. I don't see it. And I see, by the way, if that's true, that would be one of the worst decisions Rodgers has ever made. Then to be playing someone, because if there's any suspicion of that, the manager should be able to spy that if he's working with him day in, day out. You know,
we tried it twice before. He tried to keep Dembele, and Dembele only left because of the pictures of him moping, and the training ground became public. Is that
China? That was apparently like Rodgers and Dembele. Basically, I don't know if folk like fucking know this. It's not even a conspiracy. I think it's pretty much gospel that Rodgers had said to Dembele, "Look, like I'm off skate to China, so like didn't worry, like I've kind of like made it clear like you'll be the number one signing him when I go over there. We're both gonna get rich." And apparently, like, then Rodgers had a change of heart. So when, like, bids came in for Dembele, Dembele's like, I can still go, right? Like, mind you said it, and Rodgers like, no, you're going nowhere. So he totally moved his goalpost based on, and that's why Dembele was posting, like, never trust the man that you see and all this stuff. So basically, Dembele was under the impression I was free to go if a certain price was hit or whatever. But really, Rodgers was like, no, only if you were coming to play for me in China. That is apparently the case, eh? I don't know if you heard that.
I think it's true that he was definitely true that he was told on day one, if the right offer comes in, they'll know hold him back. But yeah, I said the exact same thing. I was told that if the offer came in,
$9 million for Fulham to.
I know.
I'm like, what is the right offer if that's not $9 million for Bayat? I'd have fucking see you later, mate.
I mean, I don't know how Bayat get a game for Belgium. I'm still confused about that. I mean, I thought he was a bomb scare. Although I think he would boss it just now in this league, this division just now. I think he'd be a great centre back for us. I really do. I think that's the worst league I've ever seen. Because see, in the 90s, there's a lot of good teams, by the way, a lot of fucking good teams in the 90s, because the money hadn't hit us yet. When you're paying Pierre Van Hooydonk £500 a week, it doesn't matter what you're paying Hibs players, they can't be that bad, you know what I mean? So there was a good level of player, but see this shit, see the now. I mean, you get Van Veen, he's not scored a lot of goals, but that guy went into the Dutch second division. I mean, he's in his 30s and couldn't get a kick of the ball. He signed for a Premier League club like that, and they're all bidding to get him. The boy for Hearts, Shankland, bang fucking average, right? He looks world class in this league. He looks like a class act. He goes to the English League One. He's not scored 20 goals a season. Let's be fair. Let's be real here. I mean, probably wouldn't. So I think there's players that would, but yeah, I would boss it up here, man. Honestly, I don't think guys like fucking, I don't know who's playing anywhere against us. I don't think they would spin him like he was getting spun a couple of years ago, and that was a bad league too, to be fair. But nah, it's red rotten, you know, mate. But Rodgers get previous for saying shit to players and upsetting folks.
Yeah. No two ways.
See, if I'm just going with Rodgers' words, which could be bullshit and all, let's be fair. But if he's told the players no, right, then have you been told no, Bhoycie? I've never been told no before, and it's not upset me in the slightest. You know what I mean? It's only getting told no for anybody. You know what I mean? So it does affect you. And I think if somebody told me no, and it could potentially cost me in the high millions, I'd be fucking very up fucking set. I can tell you that from nothing.
Well, it's only up to him to be able to change that. If that is the case, if he wants those offers again, then he needs to get his form back, as do Celtic. We will call it. They're quarter past. It's been a good wee show, man. Anywhere in 13 minutes we've been on the bus.
Yeah, money's done tonight.
Mate. Good debate. Oh, I'm going to go see Lee McGrandles after this. Fuck it.
Oh, you tell him I said hi.
Oh, well, I'll be like that. Listen, the judge wants to say hello to you. I'm like, Liam, has someone made you an offer not to play Molly Malone's on a Thursday? I can tell you've dropped off, sir. You're looking at your own when you sing Simple Mind, you bastard. Listen, I'll tell him. See if I think for 1 second he's not giving his all, because Big Simeone's been in charge.
I agree. Now you better tell him.
I will. Come on, get some infant it, mate. Anyway, always a pleasure to have you on, Judge. And thanks everyone in the chat. It's been like 254th most of the night. So thank you very much for all being on the bus and contributing so much to the conversation. There's been loads of sort of inward conversations on the bus as well. But between everyone, that's what the passengers are there to do. We will be back with that Friday feeling tomorrow night with the main man, Phil McGinley. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Cheers to the Judge. Keep your eyes on the board. Brendan, the players, Matt O'Reilly, the lot.